Welcome to the world of financial freedom. We're glad you're here. With Financially Fit DC, you can improve your financial health and wellness. Whether your goals are to make a budget, manage credit, buy a home, build wealth, or plan for retirement, simply answer a few questions to unlock your personalized resources and tools. Take control of your finances now and make plans for the future. You're well on your way to financial freedom with Financially Fit DC. Let's get started.
It's great that so many free resources are available to district residents to make sure you are financially fit and well-informed and able to live your best life and achieve your goals. Hey, everybody, I am Brandon Andrews. I'm an entrepreneur and investor, and I've been working with artificial intelligence, technology, and financial services for a number of years. The first thing here is I want us to get connected and stay connected. I am Global Brandon on most social platforms, and you can text my business number if you'd like to stay in touch or if you have questions about anything in the presentation today. I'll also be providing the link to my website. The slides for the presentation are listed on the website, as well as some additional resources that I'll reference throughout the presentation. And so you'll get that link to be able to reference those things after our time together has concluded. I'm excited to dive into artificial intelligence and finance, and in particular, how AI can impact your money. I know there are a lot of questions out there about it, but before we get into that, I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I am co-founder and chief product officer at Gauge. Gauge is an AI-powered market research platform. We've worked with a range of companies and organizations around the world, helping them make better decisions and avoid mistakes by building relationships with their consumers. Some of our partners there can visit gauge.ai for more info about Gauge. I've also worked with some of the largest consumer finance companies around the world and fintech companies like Intuit. I've also worked with TZP Group. I have for the past 10 years or so done casting for Shark Tank, and many of the companies pitching on the show are looking to use artificial intelligence, sometimes in consumer finance, to solve problems for people like you. And so very familiar with the thought process behind entrepreneurs and even large organizations looking to implement artificial intelligence to, again, help solve some consumer problems. This is the website that I mentioned where you can find all of the resources referenced in this presentation, inexorable.co/AI and money. Again, the slides from this presentation will be available there. And if this video is made available, I'll make sure to get the video shared there as well. Okay, so let's get into it. The first question here is, does AI limit human ability? So as we think about artificial intelligence and its uses, AI is often coming in and doing things more efficiently than humans may be able to do them, quicker than humans may be able to do them. And so there's this conversation, does AI limit human ability? Or on the other hand, does AI enhance human ability? The two people that you see in these slides, the first woman was actually appointed as the chief AI representative during the actor strike, the SAG strike that happened a couple of years ago. They decided to hire someone to make sure that this important and emerging technology was represented in the conversations. Her position was, yeah, AI does limit human ability, and it shouldn't be used in the creative spaces or even some other industries as well. The gentleman on the slide now actually leads the dev team at IBM, and he says AI enhances human ability. He says his developers are able to use artificial intelligence to augment their capacity and to be able to get work done faster and often better than they would have been able to get done on their own. This applies across AI, whether we're thinking about AI in education or, of course, the topic today, AI in finance and how AI impacts money. And so I think this is an important grounding piece to think about as you're using artificial intelligence. It's important and to be able to take advantage of the efficiencies that artificial intelligence will bring, but ultimately it's up to you to make sure you're learning about finance and you're learning how to manage things so that it's enhancing your ability to get things done versus maybe capping your ability. The next three questions are maybe the three biggest questions out there when it comes to AI and money. The first one, and this is maybe a question you've asked or something that you've put into Google or put into ChatGPT or put into Claude or any of the AI chat platforms. Can I make money with AI? That's the question. What do you think? Can you make money with AI? Well, the answer is, of course, yes, you can. And we've not only seen people like you on this session today looking for that. I pulled this data from Google Trends. The chart starts several years ago, back in 2020, and then charts who's searching for the number of searches around the world for making money with AI, or can I make money with AI, similar topics. And you see a significant increase as we get to a couple of years ago. And right about 2024, we see skyrocketing increase in terms of the number of searches for AI and money. People see artificial intelligence as a new tool. And of course, everyone wants to know, how can this tool impact my life? And money talks for everyone. And so people are thinking, how can I use artificial intelligence to make money? And so we're going to talk about some of those ways today, and also how to make sure that you protect yourself, protect your finances as you use some of these AI powered tools. The next big question is, can I save money with AI? So can AI help me save money, whether that's for retirement, or can it help me do things more efficiently so I'm not having to expend the expenditures that I may have been able to do in the past? The answer, of course, there is yes as well. AI can help you save money, and we'll talk about a number of tools and ways that artificial intelligence, through bringing efficiencies or through bringing more information to retail investors, Main Street investors like me and you, that can help us with saving. And here's the last very important question: can I lose money with AI? And what do you think the answer there is? Well, the answer, of course, is yes. Again, artificial intelligence is a technology, and technology can be used for good, and it can also be used for evil. And so we'll talk about some of the things to look out for to protect your privacy against some of the fraudulent practices that are out there, and also ways to make sure you are balancing the opportunity with potentially starting a business or using artificial intelligence to do stock trading or some of these other pieces, to balance that with the risk of potentially losing the funds that you might be investing in those platforms. And so I'm excited about diving in. As Jasmine said earlier, I'm going to talk about a number of AI powered platforms, technologies, companies during this session. That doesn't mean I'm endorsing anything, and it doesn't mean that you're under any obligation to use any of these platforms. I'm just presenting the information as an example based on my experience. And again, hopefully this will be helpful to you as you put together your personal financial plan and continue your journey forward. So we're actually going to start with a quick exercise. I know some of you may be multitasking, and so for those that are, you can visit inexorable.co/AI and money and get the full step-by-step instructions to be able to do this exercise on your own. But if you'd like to follow along as I'm doing this, you can certainly do that during this session live. So here we go. We're going to create a Gemini gem to help us evaluate AI-powered financial tools. So to do that, we go to gemini.google.com, And once you get to the front page, and this is completely free and available, but once you get to the front page, you'll click on the menu on the left. But before we get to that, here's the first thing that you should consider as you're thinking about using any AI tool, and it's privacy. So as an entrepreneur myself, and as someone who evaluates companies, businesses, and looks at pitches from businesses around the world, including many in the fintech space, there is a need to trade value for value. So many of these artificial intelligence platforms are free and available to you at no cost, at least for the basic level of service. But in order to provide that to you for no cost, the platforms have to get some kind of value out of the deal, and the value that they're getting is the data that you're making available to them. And so if you go again to inexorable.co/AI and money, there's actually instructions to make any of the major AI chat platforms, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Anthropic, etc., but to make them private if you don't want your data to be used for training artificial intelligence in the future. Now, you may not mind having your data used, and that's completely fine if you want that to be open, but there are options if you'd like to protect your privacy and make sure that whatever you're entering into these chatbots isn't used for training moving forward. So back to our Gemini gem. And again, a Gemini gem is just a focused, trained artificial intelligence module that you can use for a specific purpose. So if you go to the menu on the top left here and then click on gems, from there, you'll go over to the right and click on New Gem. So we'll create a new Gemini gem that'll be focused on financial management. So if you look here, I have named this Gemini gem AI Finance Tool Analyzer. And I won't read the entire prompt, but you have an option here to give instructions for the Gemini gem. And the instructions here basically say that the AI is acting as a financial expert and a technology expert, and they are to evaluate financial goals that are put into the chat, and based on what that financial goal is, share recommendations for AI-powered tools to help reach that financial goal. There's also an instruction to include considerations to be made for privacy, considerations to be made for security as part of the job that this Gemini gem will be doing. And so this will create the AI Finance Tool Analyzer. And again, step-by-step instructions are available on the website. Once you've put in the instructions, you can select, do you want this gem to use any specific tool available in Gemini, so Deep Research or Canvas or Nano Banana for creating images. We're not going to select any of those, but if you wanted to select something like Deep Research to get research reports versus a quick chat response, you can certainly do that. And then next, you'll have the option to upload files. So if you wanted to upload for example, Notebook LM research or podcast that's been done on the top 500 AI-powered finance tools to give your Gemini gem a little additional information and context, you could certainly do that there, but it's not required. Okay, so now we're ready to create the tool, and you will click on Start Chat. And one thing to think about before you get into responses from any AI platform is hallucinations. So artificial intelligence, and we'll talk about the types of AI and some of the foundations of how it works here in a little bit, but artificial intelligence isn't thinking in the same way that humans think, at least not yet. Artificial intelligence now is analyzing the information that you input into a chat or the information that you are sharing with it, and it's predicting what is most likely the most accurate thing to put next in this list of information that I've received based on the data that I've been trained on. Now, artificial intelligence is trained, all of the major chatbots are trained to sound as if they know what they're talking about because they want to instill confidence in you, the user, that you're getting good information. However, that means that when AI gets something wrong, that it sounds confident and that it can sound right. So it's important to know that although most of the responses you're going to get from any of these artificial intelligence systems will be correct, that they aren't thinking, they're predicting, and they do have the unfortunate ability to hallucinate or share wrong information. And so you always want to do a quick gut check with any recommendation that's being shared, especially if it's a recommendation that impacts your finances. Okay, so back to the gym. So I've put in, my goal is to save money for a home. And now this Gemini gym that is trained specifically to provide recommendations for AI-powered tools has provided recommendations for a number of AI-powered tools that can help me save money for my home. Rocket Money is here at the top, and there's a number of others that are listed here. And these tools, it also lists out why these tools can be helpful or how these tools can be helpful in achieving your goal. Now, a next thing to think about in terms of considerations is artificial intelligence does not have a fiduciary responsibility to you in the same way that a human financial advisor would have. So if someone has their, FINRA series, passed their FINRA series exam and has their certification and is a financial advisor or financial planner, they have a fiduciary responsibility. A bank will have a fiduciary responsibility, even, a mortgage broker and others working in the financial industry, working with DISB on the local level and working with the SEC or FINRA or other regulatory agencies on the national level. They have a fiduciary responsibility, which means they have to act in the best interest of their clients. Now, artificial intelligence platforms aren't in the business of providing bad information or providing information that's going to be harmful to you. However, they don't have the same legal obligation to make sure that they're acting in the best interests. And so it's important to consider that as you're thinking about taking advice from artificial intelligence platforms. They don't have the same kind of fiduciary responsibility that human advisors might have. Now, as regulation and as laws are catching up to the technology, more standards and safeguards are being put into place. This doesn't mean that AI is a bad actor, but currently it doesn't have the same kind of fiduciary responsibility that a human advisor would have. Okay, so let's look at these other recommendations. Remember, we not only said, hey, send us a list of AI-powered options that might be helpful. We said, hey, send us a list of security considerations, privacy considerations, and of course, it's provided a list here of those. Data aggregation, which we mentioned, the platforms are providing a free service, but the data that they get from you is the value that they're getting out of this transaction, so to speak. If you don't want your data to be used in training, of course, as I mentioned earlier, there are instructions to do that on the website. And third-party access. Make sure that as you are using these AI-powered products, that you look at who's actually getting access to your data and making sure that you're providing the least amount of data that's necessary to achieve whatever the goal is, whether that's, again, getting recommendations for saving for a home or getting recommendations for a loan or finding another banking or financial services product. And here are just a few other best practices that it shared. And you'll see that these Gemini gems can be really helpful, whether you're focused on financial services or focused on other questions that you have, as quick resources that you can use to get recommendations in a more focused way than you would get if you use the more general platform. Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and gone through this exercise, again, the exercise instructions will be available on the website for those of you who are multitasking or didn't have time to go through the exercise with me immediately. Let's talk about what AI is and then get into some AI finance trends that I think will be helpful to you on your financial journey. So the first kind of artificial intelligence, and this started, back World War II, so it's been around for quite some time, is machine learning. And machine learning is just the foundation of AI systems, and it's teaching a computer model to make predictions or draw conclusions from data. Remember, artificial intelligence, at least as we know it today, is making predictions. It's not thinking in the same way that humans think. And so I think that's important, again, to keep in mind. The next kind of artificial intelligence is computer vision. And so that's basically using a camera lens to analyze information. The artificial intelligence platform can then ingest that information, use it to process, and so documents, files, etc., can often be processed using computer vision. Natural language processing. So natural language processing is what we just saw with that Gemini gem. That's using human language, inputting that into a system, into an AI system, the AI understanding the human language, and then being able to respond in kind, in some kind of human language, whether that's the language that you're speaking or translating into another language. Okay, document intelligence. So document intelligence is being able to look at and differentiate between large volumes of documents. And then knowledge mining is the next step. It's being able to extract the information from those large volumes of information. Generative AI, this is something that you've probably heard before. Generative AI is the ability of artificial intelligence to generate responses, to generate something that's new from input that's given, whether that's video, audio, text, natural language processing, as we mentioned. And so those are the main kinds of artificial intelligence that you'll encounter, again, whether you're in the financial services space or otherwise. So let's talk about quickly the stages of artificial intelligence development, because I think it's important to understand where we're at in terms of AI development today, to understand how best to interact with artificial intelligence. So stage one, rule-based systems. So this is back to machine learning. So if this happens, AI should do that. If this happens, then a computer should do this. Repetitive tasks was really the start of the machine learning movement, which is now into artificial intelligence. Stage two, understanding context and retaining knowledge. So getting storage in memory. Stage three, mastering specific domains. Stage four, thinking and reasoning. Stage five, artificial general intelligence. Stage six, surpassing human intelligence. And stage seven, the AI singularity, aka Terminator movies, maybe. So where do you all think we are in terms of stages, stage one to stage seven? Well, we are here in 2026, somewhere around stage four and reaching towards stage five. So artificial general intelligence, you may have heard this term in the news or otherwise, that is artificial intelligence being as smart as an average human being walking down the street. Now, to do artificial general intelligence, it's not just being able to process a lot of data, it's being what's called multimodal. So we saw the different kinds of artificial intelligence a minute ago in the other slides, and I talked about computer vision, I talked about document intelligence, I talked about natural language processing. So we as human beings can do all of those at once. To get to artificial general intelligence, AI needs to be able to do all of those things at once, plus do them in a way that is comparative to the average human being that's walking down the street. So believe it or not, we're not there yet with artificial intelligence. However, that is a big goal for many of the major AI companies around the world and something that AI researchers are looking for. So when people say AI is going to take over the world and AI is going to take all jobs and some of these pieces, some of that is a stretch just because AI isn't even as smart as the average human yet, at least not any publicly available artificial intelligence platform. And until we get there, we certainly, won't get anywhere past that. So this is where we're at in terms of AI so far. So let's talk about AI and finance trends, AI and money. Okay, so the first thing is, and this goes back to the question I posed earlier, can I make money with AI? The first trend is wealth creation and value. So we see institutional investing. So retail investors, so everyday investors, everyday people like you and me are now getting access to investment opportunities that we may not have had access to previously through AI platforms like Portfolio Pilot and Magnify. These platforms allow everyday people to access financial products that may not have been available to us in terms of private capital markets or even public markets previously. And they provide advice to balance portfolios, make moves, etc., based on algorithmic indicators. And so this is a big piece. Business automation is here as well. So AI accounting tools like QuickBooks, Intuit Assist, and Intuit actually just announced a few days ago a new partnership where they'll have AI-powered questions and answers in many of their QuickBooks tools moving forward. And so that'll be an interesting development. But being able to maximize tax deductions, predicting cash flow and other pieces, and of course, new income streams. So again, we've seen millions of people around the world, back to the Google Trends data, searching for, can I make money with AI? And in the United States in particular, we've seen a boom in terms of the number of new businesses started over the past 4 or 5 years. Literally every year has been a new record in terms of the number of businesses started. Why is that? Now, some people may be trying to start the next Facebook and build a rocket ship that's going to be worth billions of dollars one day. But many people are just starting an LLC or setting up an S Corp and building a side hustle, building a micro business, many of them AI powered, to be able to help them make a little extra money for themselves and their families. And so that's a big trend that we're seeing and something that maybe some of you out there are doing as well. Other AI trends, investing in AI-powered companies. So AI companies, many of them are in the private capital markets, and so would only be available to accredited investors. But there are some platforms allowing limited investment to retail investors, Main Street folks like you and me, in some of these AI companies. But what is readily and publicly available are the companies that are providing support to the AI economy. So companies that are building and maintaining AI data centers, energy companies, because energy is now more important than ever, especially nuclear energy companies a lot of people are investing in, as well as companies that are providing the chips or providing the technology, building the technology that AI researchers are using to train some of the latest models and get them into the hands of everyone. And so that is a big trend. We're seeing investment in AI companies and AI adjacent companies or AI service companies. And then the last thing is building AI-powered investment platforms, so tools like ChatGPT, Make.com, and Traders Post. You can go on a tool like Make.com and create a trading bot for yourself. Now, all investments have risk, but we see people using those, some making money, some losing money. But it's another trend that's out there as people think about how can I use artificial intelligence to impact my life and support my goals, my financial goals. Okay, the next trend, digitation and autonomous finance. So AI banking has increased significantly, and there's been a evolution from just digitization, so having digital access to finances, to now predictive modeling. So AI is able to predict how much money you'll have in your account, whether that's your personal account or your savings account or your business account. And based on those predictions, artificial intelligence can now make recommendations for other financial products, for loans, for credit cards, and other pieces. Apps like the Credit Karma app use these AI-powered algorithms and these alternative ways of looking at a credit profile to be able to make decisions and make recommendations. Financial infrastructure is no longer simply processing transactions, it's actively anticipating them and predicting them using artificial intelligence. And so many of these things have actually been going on for a couple of decades now when you think about machine learning being applied in the banking industry. But now we're seeing not just AI on the back end, but AI on the front end as well, where you'll have a chat-powered interface, or you'll have some other consumer-facing pieces that can be helpful in your financial journey. Next is AI advisors and robo-predicting. So predictive budgeting, there's a number of apps, YNAB and Monarch, or a couple of them, that use machine learning for dynamic budgeting adjustments and automated expense categorization. Again, that can be used for personal finance or for your small business. Automated accounting, again, talked about QuickBooks, but using artificial intelligence to help you keep your books clean and keep them updated. You asked the question earlier, can AI help me save money? Well, for some people, artificial intelligence is helping them save on accounting costs, which is another big trend. Democratizing credit, and we hinted at this just a second ago, but there's been a credit barrier in terms of the models used in the past, where legacy models have excluded some populations, especially those operating in cash economies, from being able to be deemed as credit worthy. And so now AI-powered systems can ingest alternative data, analyzing utility payments, mobile phone payments, and other pieces to be able to predict financial responsibility. And so this democratization is a positive thing, but it cuts both ways, because when you have artificial intelligence making some of these decisions, you don't have the traditional relationship that you would have between a person and their banker who knows you and could maybe place some trust in you for a business idea or for some other kind of financial product. And so, yes, it's opening up things and democratizing, but it can cut both ways here. Now, let's talk a little bit about fraud, now that we've talked about some of the major trends when it comes to AI in finance. Fraud, unfortunately, is one of those trends. Again, artificial intelligence is pretty agnostic. It's not a positive or negative thing, but anytime humans are involved, humans are going to find ways to take advantage of other people and take from other people. And so we want you to be protected. So we're going to spend a little time talking about the ways that AI is being used to generate fraud, and then, of course, some ways that you can protect yourself, protect your accounts, and protect your family, protect your business from the fraud that's out there. The first thing is AI-generated fraud is forecasted to increase to 40 billion by 2027. That's a 32% annual growth rate. Deepfake files are increasing. There are commercialized entities like Haitian AI offering enterprise-grade face-changing software, autonomous AI romance chatbots, and industrialized pig butchering. So looking at everyday people with bank accounts as opportunities to be able to get their money, to be able to get their funds. And so, not saying this to scare you, but you should be aware that there are people actively looking for ways to access things that aren't theirs, and you want to make sure to protect yourself and your family. Human detection rates for high quality deepfake video are only 24%, and there's been significant losses of money. The ARUP incident is just one of them. So this is interesting. Someone actually created a deepfake video of the CFO of this company, and they were able to, through a online platform, get into a meeting, get access to the company's funds, and then steal $25 million plus from this company. So these are some of the things that are happening. Now let's talk about how to protect your finances. One, the AI banking market, as we talked about, has expanded. Evolution from digitization to predictive modeling. The FTC has actually created a voice cloning challenge that's going to look at ways to watermark audio to make it harder to mimic someone's voice and then use that for nefarious purposes. The reality here is traditional passwords are vulnerable, but although it may not always be as convenient, using passkeys, using YubiKeys, using multi-factor authentication, using 2FA, MFA, those pieces can be incredibly helpful, especially when you're accessing or giving access to your finances. Some organizations and some families even, it may be good to have a zero trust environment. So if someone calls and says, hey, there's an emergency, a financial emergency with the family or a financial emergency with the company, have a password that only people in the family would know, so that you know that the person that's calling you asking for help or asking for access to your finances is actually the person that's intended, and not someone using a voice clone or video clone. You can as well defeat deep fake videos by asking people to wave their hands or do other things from a human perspective that artificial intelligence isn't quite good enough to do just yet. And so these are just a couple of things to keep in mind. And of course, you should deploy enterprise detection tools or personal detection tools. There's a number of platforms out there to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe, your account safe, and your family safe as you're out here using artificial intelligence tools. I want to close with some thoughts on plaid. Now, plaid is an almost ubiquitous connection between banking and finance, digital products, and your accounts or your information. Many of you have probably used plaid. The first thing for plaid is you should use the plaid portal to manage your connections, and you should delete any unused connections. Okay, so you should go to my.plaid.com and look and see what connections are out there, because you might have open connections from old accounts or for an old app or something that you used previously that you're not using now. Make sure you go into my.plaid.com and delete any old connections, because those old connections could potentially lead to some kind of fraudulent activity, and you don't want to continue to give organizations access to your data if you're not getting any value, if you're not actually on the platform. And this is just how the Plaid platform looks. And so make sure to do that as a next step from this conversation. And again, deploy enterprise detection tools to make sure that you can protect yourself. And I mentioned this previously, but this is important for Plaid in any platform. Enable that MFA, enable and use passkeys. Again, it may not be as convenient, but it will be helpful in protecting you and your company, your family, and of course your accounts from fraud. So use MFA. And if a company doesn't have MFA that's wanting access to your finances, you should definitely ask some additional questions because that's certainly standard as we think about security when it comes to finances. Here's the last thing: be aware of read-only access. Okay, so most of these platforms, whether it's Plaid or another finance platform, they're only going to ask for read access because they just need to know what are the numbers in your account, how do I view it. But when a financial platform, especially if it's a new app or a new thing that you're wanting to use, when it's asking for another level of access beyond that read-only access, you should certainly ask questions, ask why that additional access is needed. And again, you want to provide the minimum amount of access to you and your accounts that's necessary for you to be able to enjoy whatever the service is, and then for, again, the service to be able to work. So here's a quick recap of what we have discussed today. One, we've seen an algorithmic shift. Financial technology has evolved from basic processing into predictive ecosystems, again, being able to predict what's going to be in your account, what you'll do, etc. Environment: AI creates value by democratizing institutional grade wealth management, again, providing information for retail investors, Main Street investors that wasn't available previously. We've also seen industrialized fraud. So generative AI is fueling a $40 billion fraud empire as we look at predictions through 2027. And it's important to make sure that you are ready to resist any scams that are coming up. Zero trust is the best defense against some of these AI-powered scams. Again, having a keyword or a password that you use within your company or within your family to make sure that when someone's asking for money, that it's the right person. Your data is valuable, okay? So when you're on a platform, you're trading value for value. The value you're providing is the data, and the value that the platform providing is the functionality. Make sure that whatever value you're getting from using the platform is worth sharing your data. And again, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to make sure that your information stays private as you are engaging on any of these major AI chat platforms, the instructions to do that can be found at inexorable.co/AI and money. Again, there'll be a number of other resources available there, as well as the slides from this presentation. And so with that, I will stop and look forward to any questions that you have.